Hi, friends. This is RBR. Have you guys had a great week? Because I have had a great day. Let me tell you.
Not a whole great week, though.
That sounds about right.
What was your worst part of the week? Was it being sold out to Russia? Sorry, are we not supposed to talk about politics, or are we allowed to talk about treason?
No, I was gonna say. I mean,
everyone's just
my whole day has been like. I had a comment on the New Day's tweet about Hogan.
It turns out that it's the real racist, right?
I like that you're a Hogan apologist truther.
Yeah, so
it's a good gimmick.
Man, I'm not going to avoid this topic because, like, I have so many opinions on it, and
is one of them racism actually good? Because that'd be very woke.
So,
big twist.
So Hogan, as everybody knows, has been his suspension, which we didn't even know was a suspension.
Yeah, I do think that's important to address as well. That they were like, suspension from the Hall of Fame is over.
They had to use that word because then it implies that they always intended to reinstate him instead of just like, we are now reinstating him because he is getting recognition elsewhere.
So, two things. One, I don't ever recall, was he ever suspended from the Hall of Fame? I don't
know. What does that even mean?
What does that even mean? What does being a part of the Hall of Fame entail?
Oh, you get a ring.
So did they take his ring back for 3 years? I don't think that's how that works.
Abyss had it. Yeah, Abyss had it for a while.
So I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. And on top of that, it's definitely a very polarizing topic. And when I say polarizing, it's basically black wrestlers and fans are like, fuck that guy still, and a lot of white people
are like, I think Hulk Hogan was pretty good at wrestling.
So
at least he didn't kill anybody.
I've just got some pretty, I don't know. Here's where I sit on the whole thing. I don't really know what Hogan being back necessarily brings to the table. I've heard from a lot of people.
Literally nothing. On
Twitter, I've heard from a lot of people who are like, well, you can't just wipe him from history, and I'm thinking they never did. Because, it's not like you can't access any Hogan content. They didn't Benoit him. They removed him from WWE.com.
Real quick, though, when do you think Benoit's suspension is over?
Soon.
Yeah, very soon. But
he was serving his suspension from his Bowflex.
But I feel like where Hogan was really no different than when he was in TNA or in WCW, in that we're not going to use him, and we don't really need to reference him. And that doesn't need to change. I get it. Okay, Hogan was the face of professional wrestling for over a decade. He was, when you look at just WrestleMania alone, WrestleMania wouldn't exist without Hogan. I truly, truly understand all of that. Trust me when I say that I used a lot of jest when the original Hogan tape leaked. And I'm not talking about the sex tape, but I'm talking about the latter part of the sex tape, in that the Hogan's racial statements. Because I'm going to be honest with you guys, as the resident black guy on RBR,
hey, Eric's here too.
I was
debatable.
I was a huge Hogan fan growing up. I had VHS tapes. I had there was this stuffed Hogan doll that when you squeezed it, it would say different Hogan phrases. And
get your hands off me, Edward.
No. But yeah, I had the talking Hogan doll. I had Hogan action figures. I had T-shirts. I shit you not. There was probably a day in school where I kept calling everybody brother, including the teacher, and they told my mom on me at the end of the day. And they're like, he has to stop that. He has to stop calling people brother. I'm like, what's wrong with you, brother? And I shit you not.
And your teacher,
what
Mr.
you gonna
Gene,
do
like,
if I don't stop?
Let me tell you something, Mean Gene. telling my mom on me, brother's not cool.
But yeah, I was a huge Hogan fan. So, just keep in mind,
it's crazy. He's not much of a fan of you.
I know. So I even owned the Hulk Hogan and the Wrestling Boot Band CD. Like, if you go back to RBR, if you go back to RBR episode, I want to say it was like 9, really early on at RBR lore. And I used a bunch of songs from that CD. Those were actual rips. I didn't get those off of YouTube because I don't think they were on YouTube at the time. Like, I actually ripped those from the CD I owned. It was a red CD. I got it. I had the Hulk Hogan and the Wrestling Boot Band CD. So just understand, I think I got it out of a claw catcher machine. But nonetheless, I had that CD because I loved Hogan. So hearing what I heard from Hulk Hogan and knowing that as a black person who's not 8 feet tall and not worth $100 million, I don't know. That kind of sounded like he's talking about me.
Yeah,
so,
he's racist.
So that really fucking hurt. And on top of that, and this was kind of the tweet I had in response that I think kind of got the most traction. I think it's still getting notifications to the minute right now. I kind of like it to stop, but whatever.
That's like when Twitter turns bad. It's like, it's nice when people appreciate something that you put on there, but at a certain point it becomes very tiresome.
Yeah. So the tweet was in response to some dickhole that blocked me. He blocked me because of my response. And so what he had initially said was he was responding to the New Day, and he was like, so I guess nobody deserves a second chance, in your opinion. Personally, I can no longer follow you or Up, Up, Down, Down due to your disregard for humans that make mistakes. Get over yourself.
Oh, give him a second
chance.
chance.
Well, here's the thing, though, because I do think that this is like very important to touch on, is that there still hasn't been a apology from Hulk Hogan. And from everything that came out, it sounds like his talk to the locker room was about like, hey, be careful, you might get recorded.
Right.
Rather than like, oh, hey, I said some really horrible things about human beings, and I've learned from that.
So yeah,
he doesn't think he said anything about humans.
So here's the thing. It continues. So somebody said they said they consider forgiveness if he shows a sincere effort to change. Like, how did you not read that part? But I think everybody's pretty nice to this guy. And then he said, first, he's apologized repeatedly. Second, he's become an ambassador.
Name one time.
For the Boys and Girls Club. Like, I've heard his apologies, but here's the thing. And this is what I said. In my tweet, I said, the contents of said apologies leave a lot to be desired, as he's never once taken accountability for his views. Instead, he denies he ever had those views and insisted it was just a moment of bad judgment. And there isn't a chance that's true, and that makes him seem insincere. Because the way he's like, oh, that wasn't me on that tape. You know me. Like, who you heard on that tape. I don't know what that was.
It's like the court defense of like, Terry Bollea doesn't have a 10-inch penis. Hulk Hogan does.
Yeah.
On that tape, he's like, well, Hulk Hogan's not a racist. Terry Bollea is the racist.
Right. And I feel like
Hulk Hogan should go back in the Hall of Fame because
Hulk
he's
Hogan's
not
a
racist.
Look, he says
me.
brother.
It's Terry Bollea that's a racist.
You know who else says brother? All the N-words. So Hulk Hogan, he's down with those people. Terry Bollea, though, he's a bad person.
So yeah, that's kind of what he's been implying. Is he's been saying, I'm the guy you've known for the last 30 years in the business. I'm that guy. That guy you saw on the tape.
Sucks.
That's that guy you saw on the tape. That's not me. Or the guy you heard on that tape.
They would have been better off just never taking him out of the Hall of Fame, because
also wasn't he talking to his son on that tape?
He was talking about his daughter who was calling.
Yeah, so like
when he's like, if she was going to marry one of those, I wish she was one of the 9-foot-tall, $100 million basketball player ones.
You know what I'm confused by is that Titus O'Neil's really offended, but he's really tall and also is all about millions of dollars. So like,
but he hasn't said it 100 times in succession, so it's not hundreds of millions of dollars.
I bet Hulk Hogan really hates Darren Young.
Oh yeah.
So like, Titus O'Neil, in his statement about it, had mentioned how, the point about I didn't know I was being recorded, like that kind of negates everything, because like you're truly.
It's like, oh, if I wasn't recorded, I would have said that. Still.
So, I get it. I get the idea of. So, here I was having this conversation with my mom earlier, and my mom mentioned
my mom. Folks, Borat is back. I don't know if you saw
he's got that new bad show.
He's got the new show on Showtime that I'm not sure.
I was so sad. Barry said it's not good.
I haven't watched
but Barry doesn't like a lot of good things.
But Barry likes a lot of great stuff, too.
Yeah, he probably does. It's probably shitty. Let's be real. Like, Sacha Baron Cohen.
I mean,
come on.
I only saw Bruno one time, and
that was too many.
Bad.
That movie sucked.
That's when Sacha Baron Cohen started to go downhill. Between that and then when he was dating Vinny Chase on Entourage, I didn't really care for that either. That's a Sasha Grey joke for the folks out there.
I was like, I'm sure this is some sort of joke I'm not getting.
As far as Hogan's concerned, right now I'm not missing anything by him not being around. He's
the general manager role is just so lacking without him.
Like,
here's the other thing to consider is like when people talk about like, oh, they're deleting him from history. It's like, but in what way? Like he's already, all this stuff started in the network, like Will pointed out. But also, I don't understand what these people expect week to week.
Plus, they're
like, is he supposed to just be shoehorned into every episode of Raw somehow? Like, should they go out of their way to somehow mention like, by the way, Hulk Hogan was the champion before.
Hulk Hogan, by the way, not a racist. In case you don't know anything about Hulk Hogan, he is not a racist. Everybody.
My history.
Like, I don't know. You know how you can go an entire episode without mentioning Brock Lesnar and he's actually the Universal Champion?
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, how you can do that.
He also did like major newsworthy stuff the night before. They just don't mention him. Yeah.
Yeah. You know how you can do that? Or how, like, better yet, a guy who's not on bad terms with anybody, Goldberg. And how you could go...
I'm actually on bad terms. Goldberg,
you could go months without mentioning Goldberg. You literally could go the rest of existence without ever
When was
mentioning...
the last time Stone Cold Steve Austin was mentioned on a WWE?
Oh, probably the last time they showed the beer truck. And he was at Raw 25. But I guess just my point is...
But it's still like a while ago. Like, that's the thing, though. You don't need these people and you don't need to reference this stuff. Like, the product is no different with or without them.
Yeah. And so, like, Hogan, he did contribute a lot to professional wrestling. I probably wouldn't be a fan if Hogan didn't exist because, let's be real, he was the guy. I would say that...
He was the big dog.
And the thing is, to me, it feels like... You remember in the 90s when, Hogan was his household name and then he turned heel and everybody hated him. And then he turned heel for 3 years. And then in 99, he was back to red and yellow. And everybody's like, okay, we can love Hogan again. I feel like that's what people think this is. Of like, oh, no, he was bad for just a few years. But now...
He had a face turn.
But now he's back. Hulkster. No. Not yet.
Would you have been upset if this stuff had happened and instead of taking him out of the Hall of Fame, they just did nothing? And we're like, we're not taking him out because why? We're not even going to think about him. It's in the past.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was out.
Because the fact that they took him out and had to put him back in is why you have to have this discussion. If they had just left it alone, you'd be like, whatever.
Yeah, if they had just...
They're not taking Trump out of the Hall of Fame, so like...
Just cut ties with Hulk Hogan. And then...
All the lies that you've been living in.
Because, like, you know who's still in the Hall of Fame? Jimmy Snuka.
Oh, the murderer.
Allegedly.
To be fair, though, his daughter is still in the company, and she's no good either.
That's the bigger atrocity.
Does she only have... is it just one of those, like, she's just got dates left on her contract and they want to run those out?
I don't think so, because they're not, like, giving her dates. I think
she's injured.
She's injured at the moment.
For what, 2 years?
Never known.
Is she never not injured?
I mean, last time we saw her, wasn't she in the Rumble? Because didn't they do a Nia Jax spot?
They tried to do like the Big Show Kane stare down with the two of them.
Yeah, so
nobody cared.
She's been around recently. It's just who could possibly care?
I feel like she doesn't even have like Twitter stands. She's one of the rare.
Oh,
rare
yes, she fucking does. I've
sure
gotten
she
with them
does.
before.
You're lying.
I have had a squabble with some what's her fucking name? Tamina stands. They're like, just give her a chance. They never give her any time in there. And this was like complaining about how she was in that ladder match last year and like was laying under the ladder wrong, so she repositioned her body while she was like laying on the ground. Like, she just doesn't get enough time to do it good.
She needs more practice.
Is that Caitlyn Jenner?
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Hulk Hogan, he's a good guy again. That's good. We resolved it. If you hate Hulk Hogan now, you're the racist.